Coleman. You know him from the Minnesota Vikings, from the highest of seven hills, from Jacksonville and Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the National Football League and the Black College Football Hall of Fame. First and foremost, sir, I hope you and the family are well.
We are. Thank you so much, and hope you are continuing to have a great holiday season. Hope Christmas was good, and with the upcoming new year, man, 2022 has a lot for all of us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Vikings football, the saga continues. You look at Mr. Jefferson, a dynamic catcher, a playmaker, if you will, out of LSU. You look at Mr. Cook, who can run the ball. He's been banged up, but he showed you that he can come back and still get it done. Talk about your Vikings, and when you look at Minneapolis, what do you see?
Well, obviously, it's been a disappointing season. With all of the talent that we have laced on this football team, and to be in a position as a must-win game at Lambeau against Green Bay, and the following week finishing up against the Chicago Bears, we never should have been in this position. But as I've always said, at the beginning of the season, you either develop habits that are either positive or negative. Good habits where you win those close games. You create positivity as you move forward, chemistry, whatever adjective you want to use with a football team. And if you don't win those games, you create habits on the other end. And it's a matter of time for guys to say, okay, what's going to happen now? Because we have played 10 games that have been decided on the last play of the game in the fourth quarter. So you have opportunities on offense to continue drives, put the ball in the end zone versus getting 3 points, or you have the opportunity to stop somebody in the latter parts of the game on defense. So you can't lay your hat on one aspect or the other. It's a collective effort, and it's been disappointing because those habits that were created early came back to rear its ugly head. Jake Gaither, the phenomenal coach at Florida A&M University, you would always say, kill a mosquito with an axe. Because if you don't, that same mosquito could come back and bite you in the hind parts. And that's exactly what's happened on a lot of instances with this Minnesota Vikings football team. Not to mention COVID, guys going in and out and on and off of the COVID list. And I know Mike Zimmer, head coach Mike Zimmer, was trying to get all of his guys vaccinated early. There were a number of players who chose not to, including Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins. Dalvin missed a game because of that. Kirk Cousins is missing the most important game of the season, Sunday Night Football in Green Bay, game that we have to have. Everybody has their own beliefs, their own rights to their decisions. But as you look collectively at a football team, sometimes there's no I in team.
Greg, the kicking game, sometimes people overlook it. They say, okay, extra point, or, it's time to punt. But again, the kicking game is very important, and it's one of the most crucial aspects of the game of football. Can you talk about the kicking game?
Absolutely. My former head coach, Bud Grant, would always say, during the course of the season, the special teams is going to win or lose 3 games during that season. And he counted on the special teams, our special teams, to win 3 games, whether that was through punting game, field goals, extra points, the return game, kickoff return, the coverage, keeping opposing teams from crossing the 50-yard line, flipping the field as a punter. That was my responsibility when we were backed up to get our team out of harm's way. So there are so many aspects of special teams. And it's very interesting that you mention that. Bill Belichick, probably one of the most gifted and winningest coaches in the history of the National Football League, he cut his teeth on special teams. And someone asked the question, how important is the long snapper? And he went on this 10-minute dossier on how important and critical it is for a long snapper. back in the day, the center did most of the snapping. Mick Tingelhoff did it for us for a while until it became specialized, because if Mick's hands and fingers got beat up down in the trenches, he couldn't grip the ball to get it back 15 yards. So that's when the specialization came in of a long snapper, because I can remember there were several games we lost. We lost our starting center. We lost the backup center, and some guys who thought that they could long snap. I remember one game against Detroit. We lost all of our centers, and they found a guy off the street. They woke me up in the hotel at Detroit, and we were practicing long snaps at the hotel the night before the game. That's how critical and crucial it was. To say the least, the snaps weren't as good as promised, as they were in the hotel room at 11:30 that night. But that just shows you the magnitude of specialization. Quarterbacks and wide receivers used to be holders. Well, I remember my final year in Washington. Joe Gibbs was so disappointed with a second-round place kicker by the name of Chip Lowmiller. But I had, from the University of Minnesota, I'd worked out with Chip. I knew his abilities. And Joe asked me, he said, "Greg, what is wrong with Chip?" I said, "Coach," we're standing back and watching, the field goal team go through its motions. And he said, "Well, what is wrong with Chip?" I said, "Coach, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Chip." I said, "Hell, you don't have a holder. You got Mark Rippon trying to hold, and Rip wants to be the starting quarterback, so his focus is not there. You got Craig McEwen, who's an H-back, and he wants the third down play. So you got all of those guys focused about other things." I said, "Coach, the problem is simple. You need a holder for Chip." And he said, "Well, Greg, I don't know how long you're going to be here. We'll play this thing week by week. But would you mind holding for Chip?" I said, "Absolutely." When I started holding for Chip Lowmiller during that 8th game of the season, Chip Lowmiller never missed another kick the rest of the season. So it shows you how much and how important those little nuances. And the names are not called of the center until there's a bad snap. The name is not called of a holder until, something happens. So again, the kicking game is so critical. We had the Rams on the ropes until a punt. The gunner got pushed in. Guys tend to relax. The Rams scored a punt return touchdown. There have only been 2 touchdowns on punt returns the entire season. So that shows you the onus that has been put on coverages and kicking the ball to the corners. I may have shared this story earlier. If I ever wanted to get in the crosshairs of head coach Bud Grant, that would be kicking the ball down the middle of the field. Because when I was on the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, my special teams coach, Pop Kittles, always told me, "Baby, kick it where they aim." And I said, "Pop, what do you mean?" He said, "Why are you kicking it right to him?" I said, "Well, that's where he's standing." He said, "Make him earn his supper too. Kick it to the right, kick it to the left. And if you do that on a consistent basis, they'll find a place for you." And that was my forte in the National Football League, kicking the ball to the Coleman corner. I call it Coleman. I don't know who Coffin was, but, that kept me in the league for 12 years.
Awesome. Black College Football Hall of Fame. Now that you've been a part of that legacy, it's cemented in the history of the football pantheon. Can you talk about what that means to you personally at this point?
It's still as raw with emotion as it was during the induction. That means that legacy, part of this journey, will be documented in the annals of football, that someone thought enough of what I contributed to this game of football that warrant the title of Hall of Famer. And I'm still getting used to that. To be in a class, in a fraternity of men, some of the greatest men to ever play the game: Art Shell, the late great Ken Riley, Bob Hayes, Mel Blount, the list goes on and on and on. And I told them when we finally made the finalists that we were inducted, when I got the call from Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, I said, "Man, the team is finally complete, because now you have a punter and a place kicker in the Black College Football Hall of Fame." And it's something that I don't take lightly, James. I am so elated when someone puts that adjective and that title next to my name, Black College Football Hall of Famer. And a lot of times the first part, Black College Football, is omitted. And they just say, man, you're a Hall of Famer. I have to keep my shirt from busting with pride, because it's something, when you start to play this game, you don't go in looking to be named to the Hall of Fame, but that's the ultimate position. That's the ultimate compliment. So when you reach that pinnacle of success to be in anybody's Hall of Fame, that means that, man, the good Lord gave you something a little bit special than he gave to somebody else.
Greg, HBCU football, as we look at it, we see a movement, if you will, whereas gentlemen with National Football League experience, whether it be coaching or playing, they're bringing that experience back home, so to speak. Can you talk about what we see with Coach Prime? You look at Tennessee State University with Eddie George. You look over at the Grambling State University and you see Mr. Hugh Jackson. Guys are coming home. Prairie View A&M University in the Houston area is still open, and I'm sure that's an intriguing opportunity for someone. But when you think about HBCU football, talk a little bit about what it means to you personally and what you see as far as this movement back home, so to speak.
Let me start at the beginning. Number one, you talked about a movement, and I'll get to that in a moment. But what HBCU means to me, it gave me an opportunity to get a college education. It gave me an opportunity to prepare me for life after college life. It prepared me for life in business. It prepared me for life in the community. It prepared me for life as a man, as a citizen. All of those coaches, mentors, tutors, well-wishers. I took a little bit. I gleaned a little bit from everybody. So when you talk about the now movement of HBCU football, it's an incredible movement, and it bursts with pride to see what Coach Prime has done, bringing a lot of men, influencing a lot of men to come back to where we once were, because HBCU football was the pinnacle of success many years ago, until integration came, and that's when the other major colleges started to feed off of the parks and the high schools that made HBCU what it was back in the day. But as time moves on, and I don't fault that. That was progress, because it opened up the doors for a lot of men. But this movement has been unbelievable. And to say that one man doesn't make a difference. When Deion Sanders went to Jackson State, a lot of people frowned and said, it's just a publicity stunt. No, I beg to differ. His influence, the influence of one man, bringing a focus, a refocus, a rebirth to HBCUs like none before. When the young man made a decision to leave, to turn down FSU and go to Jackson State, there were a lot of people who scoffed at him. But let me tell you something. He saw something in that program that he and his family, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this movement. I understand what Deion Sanders went through coming up before going to FSU, and what he has learned and what he has brought to Black college football. You mentioned Eddie George. You mentioned Hugh Jackson. And there will be many more who have put on the shield of the National Football League that will migrate back to HBCU football. And I think there's a window. I think there's a window between 3 and 5 years, not only for recruiting, but also grants and the reemergence of education and from the Howards to the FAMUs and Morehouses and Miles colleges, from the biggest to the smallest. I think this is a time, and you see a lot of former graduates coming back and supporting those institutions financially. We're going to do what we can because we've have an award called the Greg Coleman Golden Toe Award that's going to be given to the top punter kicker in HBCU. We're going to provide them with a grant so they can go to kicking camps to hone their crafts, to get the exposure from coaches and scouts, to take their skills to the next level. I've talked with Marquette King, former punter for the Raiders in Broncos, HBCU out of Fort Valley State. I've talked to Presley Harvin, the only African-American punter in the National Football League, although he was not from HBCU. He went to Georgia Tech, but he understands his role now because passing the torch on to him. He was my guest at the Black College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, sat at the table with my family. So he understands what's on his shoulders. And my heart goes out to him, he and his family, because he lost his father a couple of weeks ago and grieving that. So we grieve with him. But Presley is going to be a legend in the National Football League because he has a tremendous leg. He has a tremendous mind. So he's going to do extremely well. The fact that there are very few African-American punters and kickers in the National Football League cannot continue. And I'm going to use this platform to shine a light on that darkness that's called Black punters and kickers from HBCU schools. And when you shine a light, roaches scatter. Okay. But the light that I'm trying to shine is to give them the exposure, give them the confidence. I'm not going to go back and coach and all of those things, but I can talk with these kids, encourage them, giving them the assurance that they have what it takes. They have what it takes from a physical standpoint, and I'm going to help with that mental and emotional standpoint. In whether it's a Zoom call like this on a weekly, a monthly basis, we're going to do whatever we can do because it's a small fraternity, just like HBCU football. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help these men and their legacy. So we're just so elated. And I thank God for his favor, for his blessings, for his goodness and his mercies. It's just unbelievable to be where I am today with this journey. There's so much more journey behind me than it is before me. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can with the time that we have left to make a difference, not only with HBC football, but just in society in general.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota, the great state of Minnesota. When you look at the historical piece over the last few years, you see a couple major court cases, the Floyd case and also the case in the Brooklyn area. Can you speak to what that has done when you look at brutality and people getting along together and being treated the right way? When you think about the Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the Twin Cities area that you know, what goes through your mind?
Well, obviously, the Chauvin trial was a pivotal decision, not only here in the state of Minnesota, but across the country. What it showed people of color is that we can get a fair trial. We can hold law enforcement accountable for their actions. The mere fact that technology has now been a part of that scene and been a part of trials. And I think it goes back even to the Rodney King case. And most people thought that that was just a gesture. But even going back further, walking across the Pettus Bridge where water hoses and dogs were put on people of color in Selma, Alabama. When America was exposed, when the dirty part of America was exposed, it forced everybody to back up and take a look. Hey, wait a minute. These folks of color have not just been whistling Dixie. They have not been lying. You know, the proof is in the pudding. And if the laws were meant for everybody, then that they're meant for everybody. Because Richard Pryor said it many, many years ago, there are two kinds of justices, one for them and one for just us. Well, that's starting to shift because now we are getting just us. And what those court cases meant for this community were unbelievable. It was a sigh of relief. But that doesn't mean that the battle is over, that the fight is over. There's still pockets of systemic racism in every walk of life. I spent 24 years as a C-level executive in a public safety communications company. So I know that there's some great chiefs and great sheriffs in this country, but there's some bad apples below them. So hopefully the laws will change to give them the power to get rid of those bad apples on the force and in the department, and have women and men of integrity that protects, that they really serve out that creed that's written on the side of the cars, protect and serve all mankind. So it was great to see those men and women held accountable for their actions, but we still have a long way to go.
Greg, we look at the history and we look at the year of 2021, very symbolic. Now we're shifting gears and we're moving forward, so to speak, into 2022. What's your thought process going in, and what would you envision?
Well, I think we still have to be practical and prayerful, because this variant is still real. Some people thought it was a political sham until it knocked on their doorstep, until it started taking some of their loved ones. I don't think it's time for us to relax. I don't think we have to live in fear as well. But I do believe that we have to move forward with caution, but also move forward with expectation and hope, because you may have heard me say that without hope, you have nothing. Man, you got to keep hoping, trusting, and believing, because hope is a gasoline that fuels your faith. And without faith, you have nothing. I always say that if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And we're all going to have mountains in 2022, just like we had in 2021. But just remember that the storms of life that we go through, they don't last forever. You're either going into, in the middle of, or coming out of a storm. So you just have to hold on, and keep believing, keep hoping, and keep trusting. Surround yourself with good people who mean you good. Relationships are not meant to last forever. Only a few. It's like a milk carton. There's an expiration date on a milk carton. Now you can drink it, but it'll either make you sick or it'll kill you. It's the same way with relationships and periods of life that we have. When God said this season is over, you can try and buck against the goad and stay there when he's ready for you to move on. But like that milk carton, that expiration date, it'll either make you sick or it'll kill you. So know when your season is up for a specific period of time, in a specific relationship that you have with a person or a company or an organization. And just know, sometimes in order to walk on water, you got to get out of the boat. And I've had to get out of the boat several times, not knowing where I was going, not knowing, having a life raft, but you just have to trust it. As long as you keep your eyes on the master, you're going to be okay.
HBCU football in 2021. We just witnessed and covered the SWAC and the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. And we see Oliver Buddy Pugh, who was able to go in and bring his South Carolina State University Bulldogs. They persevered and they outlasted Jackson State. Can you talk about the symbolic nature of what he's been able to do as a coach? You talk about the 20 years there. And again, really just playing at a high level and using his thinking cap, so to speak. And the fruits of his hard labor came to fruition with his third Black college football national championship. Well,
the resurgence of that program has just been incredible. All eyes were focused on Coach Prime and his Jackson State Tigers and what they have done, and rightfully so. they deserved all of those accolades. But sometimes laying in the cut is somebody who's just not, getting all of the press and all of the attention, but they know that they have one heck of a football team and an organization down there that really showed what even a small school could do. And to have, 65,000 people at that stadium in Atlanta, that was a testament within itself. Not only that, I look forward to the HBCU Legacy Bowl that's taking place in New Orleans. That's going to showcase African-American athletes from HBCU institutions. There's nothing else competing with that game. So coaches and scouts and everybody else from these pro teams, they don't have an excuse like they had before. They traveled during post-COVID, they traveled during COVID, and God bless it, they're going to be in New Orleans, because if they don't, a lot of people will have a lot of things to say. So with the support that particular program is getting, that game will be getting, I'll be there, and hopefully you'll be there, and the support to give the support to that game that's so needed, because we've got some great kids that are doing some great things at HBCU institutions.
Greg, HBCU student athletes getting an opportunity to compete, combine, if you will, and play on Sundays. And you even look at episodes whereas Deion Sanders is able to bring in one of the top-notch players in the country to go to Jackson State. How important is the bowl coming up? And again, the opportunity, you guys are helping the next generation of HBCU athletes as they can showcase their talents, if you will, and play in that game. Just talk a little bit about the importance of it.
I think it's critical. And not only former NFL players, you have NBA players all across the NBA who have stepped in to partner with HBCU institutions. You got Steph Curry up at Howard, who has partnered with them. You've got Chris Paul, and you've got King James that have partnered with Florida A&M University. Those relationships are so critical. They're so important. These are icons in other sports that are seeing and realizing the importance of HBCUs and the support that they need, because the other schools get them. We don't have, a whole lot of alumni with seven-figure stashes, so to speak. So very rarely are you going to get a seven-figure check donated to one of these institutions. But man, if you get enough people that donate 100 or 200 or 300, pretty soon you're going to come, I call it the Obama theory. Hey, give me $5 here, give me $10 here, give me whatever you got. And it adds up. Everybody puts a little bit more in the bucket, whether it's resources, whether it's influence, whether it's finances. I mean, my gosh, you know what Will Packer did to Florida A&M, the amphitheater, a few weeks back, and have Stephen A. Smith and his crew come down to FAMU and do a live remote from there. And he's done it at other HBCU institutions. I think all of that collectively will help fuel the fire that young kids are growing up now that are in 8th, 9th, 10th grade are taking note. I was in a restaurant and I saw a couple of young kids with a FAMU shirt on. I said, young man, do you attend Florida A&M? He said, no, sir, I don't. I said, well, until you get there, you represent that shirt well, because you're representing me. You're representing and it was four young brothers. And he looked, man, I never thought about it that way. I never looked at it that way. So yes, whether it's Morehouse or Jackson State or Florida A&M, the symbolism of HBCUs is so powerful in this country right now. And I just applaud everyone who lifts a finger to help HBCU student athletes and others, and just making a difference, man. Just making a difference. What you do, James Hill, and what you have been doing over the years. A lot of people don't know your story about how you have done, what you've done on the back end. without getting that kind of exposure and the right praise and the right thanks for what you have done coming to this point in your career. So I salute you, my brother, for what you have done and what you have meant to HBCU and Black college football.
Thank you, sir. In closing, NFL, Vikings on the road at Packers. Talk a little bit about this particular contest. Again, frozen tundra. Not everybody will be there. It will be challenging. Again, a big game on Sunday.
Absolutely, it is. And it's so ironic that I have made my announcement that this will be my last year sideline analyst for the Vikings radio broadcast. And it made me go back and think about my first game playing in Minnesota was October 22nd, 1978, after I got a call from Frank Gilliam, who was the director of player scouts, player personnel for the Minnesota Vikings many, many years ago. And he said, Greg, we want you to come in. And I came in and got an opportunity, and I spent the next 10 years punting for the Vikings. That game was against the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. My first game as a pro with the Minnesota Vikings was against Green Bay. So I understood right away what that border battle rivalry meant. And it's still just as intense today. They have one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in Aaron Rodgers. He can be beat. We beat him early. We'll be without Kirk Cousins. That's going to be a challenge. But that means that everybody else has to pick up their game. We'll have Dalvin Cook back. In the last time Cookie played against these Green Bay Packers, he had a phenomenal day. Justin Jefferson will be without Adam Thielen. But one man's injury and downfall is another opportunity for somebody else. So those men who have the opportunity to come up and play, to make a difference, it's a must-win situation in order to keep playoff hopes alive. It's been interesting and difficult at the same time. But this is what you live for as a pro, the opportunity to control your own destiny. And you can only do that if you win Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers.
Greg, in closing, we're just finding out, and again, we don't know all the details, but we do understand that the late, great Sam Jones, who many people know from the Boston Celtics, a 10-time NBA world champion, and also one of the greats from North Carolina Central Eagles men's basketball, he's passed on. When you think about Mr. Jones, again, a champion of a human being. Can you speak a little bit about that particular gentleman?
Absolutely. I met Sam Jones many, many years ago, doing one of the things that we all are so passionate about, that's playing golf. Met him on the golf course at a tournament, met his dear wife, and Sam just kind of embraced us, you know, as a young blood. He said, man, I've known about you for many years. He said, but now to get a chance to meet you and tee it up with you, and our relationship continued over many, many years. He relocated down in the Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Florida area. So we would see Sam at many tournaments. And just to relish in the fact that, man, this brother won 10 world champions with the Boston Celtics. And some of the men, the great men that he played with. And he was just as humble, just a man with a sweet spirit. He will be sorely missed in that community. So hats off, and I salute to Sam Jones and another icon that was lost early in the week, John Madden. My relationship with John goes back to Florida A&M when he and Al Davis and Art Shell and Gene Upshaw used to all call the third floor at Sampson Hall at Florida A&M. Because my dear friend Henry Lawrence was being touted and recruited by the Oakland Raiders, and they made Henry Lawrence the first round pick back in 1974. So I would talk to John Madden. I would take those calls from Al Davis. And I remember telling John Madden, I said, John, when I graduate in 2 years, I'm going to come and punt for the Raiders because my favorite colors are silver and black. Being an alpha man, you know, it wasn't black and gold, but it was close enough. And I remember one time John said, "Well, Greg, we already have a guy that's punting for us." And of course, he was talking about Ray Guy, and I'm being cocky and funny at the same time. I said, "I don't care who you got, but I'm going to punt for the Raiders." So we laughed and joked about that as I competed against the Raiders during my 12-year career and in post career during the broadcast season, and when John would drive that big Madden bus, the Madden Cruiser, up to Minneapolis, and we would get on with his driver, Eddie Yarbrough. We would talk not only about football and what he meant to the community and what he meant to men and opportunities. I talked with Henry Lawrence just the other day, and he said, "Greg, John Madden was like a father to me, not only a coach, but that description not only goes for Henry Lawrence, but it goes for a lot of men that John Madden touched the lives of." So we salute John, his family in Virginia, and those kids. So, man, that's why we got to make every day count, because we never know when the good Lord is going to need a Hall of Famer up in heaven.
Well said. Well, folks, there he is. He is Mr. Greg Coleman, a Hall of Famer. I'm James Hill. You're watching BNC Sports. We'll be right back.